Yeah, we're gonna play. I mean, listen, we have 8 records. It gets a little tough to play everything, but we plan on playing for at least 2 hours, and we're gonna play a lot of stuff because we realize, when you go tour in the States, we've played multiple times some of these cities. And so you always want to change it up. You want to play deeper cuts, you want to play things you don't always play, or the show gets stale. But for Jakarta, we haven't been there a lot. And so we want to play things that challenge the audience, but we also want to play things that they came to see. So we're going to
Yeah.
do a lot of things, a lot of songs,
Oh, that's
but things like a little piece of heaven. That's like you got to play that. Like when we go to Brazil or like in Europe or in Southeast Asia, people love a little piece of heaven. So we got to
yeah.
play those type of songs for sure. We kind of took a swing at it, many years ago, and it's really become a place now where I think it's our biggest streaming market in the world. More people listen to us in Indonesia than in all of the United States, which is crazy. Um,
Yeah.
and and so we were looking at doing like a full tour and going and doing more dates in Indonesia, and looking at going to like other surrounding areas in Southeast Asia. Um, but it was kind of getting lumped in with Europe and the States. And so we were going to push it off to next year. And then we said, you know what, let's go do one show and let's go do the best market for us and see how it goes. And it happens to be, Jakarta. So we put one show on the books. We're going to go to Europe. And then when we come back, we're going to try to go a little deeper into Indonesia, hopefully in 2025. You know, I think we're a lot more in tune now with what the fans in Indonesia want. Before we would just kind of come over and play what we were playing. Um,
Yes.
Now you know, we understand that there is a new record, but there's a history with things like Dear God, and there's a history with things like Gunslinger and songs we don't normally play they
Yes.
seem to be very tied to the culture,
Yeah.
and with Avenged Sevenfold. And so, we want to come over there and not only present what we're doing now, but we also don't want to ignore what we've done. And so we're going to make a set list that we don't play anywhere else in the world. We're going to play a set list that is just specifically for Indonesia. So that's kind of fun for us because we have to go learn a bunch of songs that we haven't played in a
Oh,
long time. Well, they're good friends of ours. And listen, like the reality is it takes a lot of planning and money
yes.
to get over to Indonesia for one show.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so we called our friends and we said, "Hey guys, what do you think about going to Indonesia with us?" And they were like, "If you can make sure we have our costs covered, we would love to go back because we actually do really well in Southeast Asia." So we called them, we made it work. We love the use. They're friends of ours. And it's going to be so exciting, right? It's going to be awesome because we think they're a great band. Obviously, people in Indonesia like the used. So yeah, they're just buddies of ours. So we called them up and they wanted to do it. So we're happy about that. Yeah, I mean, none of us are particularly religious, but we were in high school and we needed to find a band name because we were
Yes.
jamming. And so I went to the Bible and I just started looking through terms. I found Lips of Deceit, which became a song on the first record. Um, that was almost the name. And I found Avenged Sevenfold. And then I came to school the next day and nobody had any other names. So we're like, oh, I guess we're Avenged Sevenfold. So yeah, it comes from the story of Cain and Abel. It represents the first murder on earth, which almost represents just a human story, right? Where there's jealousy and there's all these sorts of emotions that are playing, and then you know the Cain and Abel story happens. So God says He will punish anyone 7 times for their sins, and so that became our band name. Yeah, we love the Misfits, and the Misfits had a really cool logo,
Yes, I do miss it.
and then we love Iron Maiden, and they had Eddie. And so when we were in high school, I think we
Yes,
were 17 at the time. Me and Zach got together and said, let's have a logo where you could put it anywhere, and people would know what it was without the band name. And so our friend Micah, who was a sophomore in high school at the time, we said we want a skull and wings, and he drew the death bat, and that was it. And we said, all right, we gave him $50, and that was our logo, and we've used it ever
yes,
since. I think, listen, we're all human beings. I don't know how old you are, but you're probably, but the point is that we all evolve, right? And we go through
yes,
things
yes,
in our life. And when you're a painter, or you make movies, or you a musician, you have to let the art reflect your life, right? Because that's the truest form of like, um, letting somebody see kind of inside what you're feeling and what you want to create. So for us, I'm not the same person I was when I was 19 or 22
yes,
or
yes,
28.
yes,
And that's
yes,
why
yes,
all of our records, they sound different, right? They're just different things. And they will be waiting for people as they are ready for them. And there's some people that they'll never be ready for it. There's some people that will come to it in 10 years, and there's some people that get it right away. But Life is But a Dream is a complex introspection into being a human being and just what it
yeah.
is on this planet and how we're all here and we don't know what's going on. And so it's an interesting kind of biography on life. I don't worry about what anyone thinks. Um,
Yes,
because at the end of the day, right, like people don't know what they want until you give it to them. And I'm the same way. There's a bunch of records of artists I love, and then they put out something that I don't understand. And then years later, I come to understand it and I respect them more because they did what they wanted. Um, we are not the kind of people that will ever write a record like an old record
yes.
because that's
I,
where we were at that time. And by the way, if we wrote a record like Nightmare, and then that would mean that we had to take a step from Nightmare to the White Album. The White Album, if we wrote the same thing as the White Album, you would never get Nightmare. And if you never wrote
yes,
Nightmare, you'd never get Hail to the King. And so you need those different things that people don't quite get at first, and then eventually they'll catch on. No, so I've had problems with vocal cords, but usually what problems with vocal cords have to do with singing notes. Um, I don't think screaming, if you do it properly, will hurt your vocal cords. It's kind of a vocal fry, right? It's like your cords are kind of frying on the top, but they're not really damaging them. It's actually more damaging to yell and to like sort of like sing improperly. I've had two surgeries in my career where I've blown out the cords, but it's from singing. Um, the reason we don't scream anymore, and they're screaming and like we love you, they're screaming in Mattel, but the reason we don't just full on scream is we just feel there's so many bands doing it and it's just not something that interests us right now. Doesn't mean we won't ever again. Maybe we will. But right now it's just not something that we feel adds to what we're trying to put out there. The place am I in the place where you realize life is short and you realize that none of this matters. And so you if you're going to be an artist, do whatever you want. If you're going to go on tour, do it on your own terms. Love your family, love your friends, um, spend every moment with them. Try to um, completely live in the moment and enjoy the boring things. Enjoy the things that you think are not fun, because life is so full of those things. So I guess where I'm at is just complete freedom. Just live how you want to live, play the shows you want to play, write the music you want to write, uh, do the things you want to do, love your family and your friends, have fun because we're not here for very long.